Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 90 based on novel. So let's start. Such a sudden change also surprised Janming. But when they came back, they only saw that the sword rain was exploding quickly without the control of Janming. Bang bang bang. However, in a short period of time, the hundreds of blades that threatened to kill Xiao Yang were like balloons that exploded, quickly annihilated, turned into a sky of energy light, and then slowly dissipated in the world. Such an amazing scene made everyone present feel cold at the moment. It was unimaginable that once again, the sword blade condensed by the Emperor fighting strong man was broken again. Moreover, this scene is undoubtedly more shocking than Xiao Yang, who had just smashed it with all his strength. For a time, the people outside couldn't help whispering again, which gradually made the atmosphere in the field a little dignified. Compared with the shocked people outside, Janming, the owner of those sword blades, seems extremely dignified on his old face. Needless to say, the strength of the person who made the move is at least at the level of fighting the Emperor. Moreover, according to Janming's guess, I'm afraid his level is not weaker than any of the four of them at the moment. Damn, who the hell is this? When will there be another strong man in the western regions with strength comparable to ours? Can you say? This guy is from Union Pavilion? After a short time, not only Janming, but also Wu Jishan, a few people also looked around the world with dignified eyes, as if they wanted to find out the person who shot. At this time, Chen Zhen was even more surprised. This man could be protected from exploration under the powerful soul power of his 5th level array mage. I'm afraid his strength is beyond the reach of others. If he didn't save Xiao Yang just now, but came directly at him, I'm afraid Chen Zhen would have ended up seriously injured at this time. Thinking of this, I couldn't help sweating a lot on my forehead. Even my clothes were soaked with sweat. But at the same time, the fingers like the roots of old trees under Chen Array's sleeve robe were slightly bent, the fighting spirit in the palm was condensed, and his steps retreated a little without trace, close to the array behind him. He is ready. If the other party is really a strong man in Union Pavilion, no matter how he doesn't kill Xiao Yang today, he must control Luo Jin first. Only by controlling him can he have a way to live. After all, if the other party is also a strong fighter, if he forcibly takes Luo Jin away, he will be in real trouble. I don't know who you are. If you can, I'd like you to show up. At this moment, Wu Jitian, the most fiery temperament, was more direct. When the tiger's body shook, his feet stood firmly on the ground, his body was tall and straight, his hands hugged and arched against the unmanned sky, and the rough voice came out slowly. The so-called people who reach out and don't hit a smiling face are treated politely by Wu Jitian at the moment. Presumably, the unknown strong man will not continue to be arrogant. But the result was not like what Wu Jitian thought. It not only didn't look like it, but also made him pale. I now give you two choices. First, leave these three people and turn around and leave immediately. I can act as if nothing has happened. Second, the three of them will stay. At the same time, the four of you will stay here forever. The voice of the old words seems very plain, but in that plain, it implies an unparalleled hegemonic dignity. Under this momentum, no one can resist. A rat who hides his head and shows his tail dares to speak so loudly. Today, the Emperor will see how you have the courage to say this. Hearing the speech, Wu Jitian's heart suddenly became angry. The tiger's body was shocked. His two broad palms suddenly clenched into fists. His whole body momentum was shocked. The fighting spirit in his body quickly poured out of his body. The shoulder armor on his left chest was like alive at the moment. However, just as Wu Jitian was about to explode, the next moment, there was a sudden sound like a dull thunder in the sky. Bang! Just in an instant, when everyone present heard the sound, almost at the same time, everyone in Lungsue City saw that Wu Jitian was as strong as a bear, and was blown out by an invisible force without warning. Pooh! When Wu Jitian's body fell to the ground, he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. His ruddy face quickly turned pale, and his breath weakened a lot at this moment. This is the first time, I hope, this is the last time, I gave you a chance, go away. At the moment when people were revived, the faint old voice also echoed in the sky of Lungsue City for a long time. Until this moment, Chen Zhen, Janming, Yi Luotian, and Wu Jitian, who had just been blown out by a blow, woke up completely. Even the four powerful fighting emperors with supreme status in the western regions, at the moment, they also have endless panic in their hearts. They are sure that the mysterious strong man must have surpassed the level of fighting the emperor. I'm afraid it's the worst. It's also necessary to count the strong man in the source environment. With this in mind, the bodies of the four of Chen array suddenly trembled violently, and the sense of horror in their hearts was even more difficult to express. Source environment. The strong at this level is not only looking at the whole Yuanwu continent, but also a powerful existence with great status. This can be seen only from the Supreme Master Tianjue. Sir, I didn't mean to offend you, but I was a little anxious just now, so I offended you. Please don't mind. Wu Zetian got up with a frightened look on his face. Although the strength in his body was not heavy, that blow hurt his flesh. I'm afraid it will be difficult to recover for a long time. In that case, don't you go away. The old low cry suddenly sounded, but it shocked Wu Zetian and others like thunder, not to mention those ordinary practitioners standing outside. Hearing the speech, the four looked at each other and looked at each other. Chen Zhen looked behind him vaguely. Zhong Yizheng was wholeheartedly watching Luo Jin. Although he knew someone was helping, he didn't move. No matter when, he must first focus on Luo Jin's safety. Seeing that Zhong Yi is guarding Luo Jin, Chen Zhen can't help frowning in the dark. In this way, it's impossible to take Luo Jin immediately. Once he does it himself, the mysterious strong man may really leave him here forever, as he said. But if you don't start at this time, once the forces behind Union Pavilion know about it after today, I'm afraid they won't give up. Put your mind away and get out. Otherwise, I'll take you now. The sound like thunder came into Chen Zhen's ears, which made the latter's body tremble violently. When he recovered, he quickly arched his hands around the sky and shouted with a trembling voice. Excuse me, Elder. I'll go now. I'll go now, I'll go now, I'll go now. Before the words fell, Chen Zhen quickly turned around and flew away at the speed of running for his life outside Lungsue City. Later, Wu Zetian and others quickly flew away in 4 different directions after bowing their hands in the sky. Thank you for your help. Seeing that Chen Zhan and others fled, Zhong Yi, who guarded Luo Jin after a good moment, looked respectfully at the empty sky above his head and said in a slightly weak, respectful voice. There's nothing to thank, but I don't like it, so I just shot. The old voice is still very bland, but if you listen carefully, you can find that the tone of the mysterious strong man at the moment is much softer than when he faced Chen Zhan and others before. This makes Zhong Yi feel comfortable. At the same time, he can't help being curious about the mysterious strong man. Who is this mysterious strong man? Elder, I'm the elder of Union Pavilion, and the young man beside me is the leader of my Union Pavilion. This time, the elder saved us. I dare to invite the elder to visit my Union Pavilion and take something to repay the elder for saving his life. As soon as his eyes turned, Zhong Yi was afraid that the 4 guys would be unwilling to hibernate outside the city. If he waited until the elder left, I'm afraid Xiao Yang and them would still die. Hey, don't worry. They have gone back to their homes. They can't be dormant outside the city. As for the cloud-hidden pavilion, if I'm still there, I won't go. It seems to see the concerns in Zhong Yi's heart. The old light smile came out again, which made Zhong Yi's inner heart relax. At the same time, he couldn't help showing a slightly embarrassing smile on his old face. Cough. Cough. When the atmosphere in the field was slightly silent, several faint coughs suddenly sounded. Until now, Zhong Yi reacted. Although Luo Jin's injury has been stable, it is difficult to predict the situation of Xiao Yang on the other side. After all, in the state of serious injury, Xiao Yang was pierced by the sword of the strong fighting emperor, coupled with the ferocious energy bombing later. At this time, Xiao Yang was no longer seriously injured. He must hurry to have a look at it immediately. All right, you do your job. I'll go first. As the faint old voice came out, the special pressure that permeated the whole Lungsue city the moment before also quietly dissipated at this moment. At this moment, everyone in the city suddenly felt light and finally completely relaxed. Only Zhong Yi didn't dare to relax. After he arched his hand to the sky, he dragged his injured body and quickly flew to Xiao Yang, who was badly hurt. Seeing the terrible sword mark on Xiao Yang's chest that almost tore him apart, even with Zhong Yi's determination, he couldn't help trembling in his heart. It's hard to imagine that Xiao Yang was just carrying such a badly injured body and forcibly smashed the huge sword condensed by Jianming. When Zhong Yi's soul power swept other parts of Xiao Yang's body, the look on his old face could not help but become ugly. Not only was the almost fatal sword wound on his chest, but almost half of Xiao Yang's bones were broken. At the same time, Xiao Yang's internal organs were also damaged to varying degrees. Nearly half of his meridians were broken, and there was little blood left in his blood vessels. I'm afraid Xiao Yang was an ordinary person at this moment, can kill him, too. However, at the same time, there are two other things that surprised Zhong Yi. First of all, when Zhong Yi explores the injury in Xiao Yang's body, he finds that Xiao Yang has swallowed the best imperial pill for healing. In this regard, Zhong Yi carefully recalled the previous battle scenes of Xiao Yang. He didn't have any time to swallow the pill, and Zhong Yi didn't see Xiao Yang swallow the pill, but in that case, who took the pill for Xiao Yang? Secondly, in addition to the pill, several different fires gushed out of Xiao Yang's body to repair Xiao Yang's body and soul respectively, which also made Zhong Yi feel envy in his heart. When Zhong Yi controlled the injured bodies of Xiao Yang and Luo Jin to return to the Cloud Pavilion, until this time, the ruined Lungsue city became lively. In a short moment, the name Xiao Yang has been firmly engraved on the hearts of everyone in Lungsue city. Even the semi-imperialist strongman was shocked at this time, recalling the previous war, and his heart was shocked. Although Xiao Yang almost never gained the upper hand in the previous war, it was enough to make them feel moved by his survival under the attack of the strong fighting emperor. How many people are able to shake the strong who fight against the emperor with the body of a half-emperor, even if they look at the whole continent? At least, the others present did not have Xiao Yang's courage and ability to face the strong emperor, let alone fight with him. In just a few days, not only in Lungsue city, but also in more than a dozen large and small cities in Shilin region, the war about Xiao Yang's day spread one after another. For a time, the name of Xiao Yang also left a very deep impression in the hearts of most people in the western region. At the same time, Xiao Yang has become the goal pursued by many people. Even some semi-imperial strongmen who boast of superior strength have begun to look for Xiao Yang in the western regions. Although I dare not say that I will face the strong man, it would be a great achievement for them to defeat the man who survived in the hands of the strong man. Of course, if this is in the eyes of those female practitioners, it is different. When Xiao Yang's fame brought him countless pursuers, in the eyes of those young and beautiful girls, it was full of admiration, and even some people fought for it, which made Xiao Yang's popularity soar rapidly in a short time. Since ancient times, beautiful women love heroes. Maybe it's Xiao Yang at this time. However, when the outside world spread about Xiao Yang's war that day, Xiao Yang at this time was still in a coma, his face was as white as snow, and there was no sign of awakening. If it weren't for the faint breath in his nose, I'm afraid even Zhong Yi couldn't guarantee whether Xiao Yang was still alive. Xiao Yang was seriously injured in this war, especially the sword seal of Jianming, and even nearly killed him. If there were not strange fire and other things against the sky to protect the origin of the Lord Xiao Yang from being infringed, I'm afraid even if he was lucky to get back alive, his strength could not be improved anymore. In a flash of time, a month has passed quietly, and Luo Jin has already recovered. Although his state has not recovered to its peak, it is just a matter of time. The first thing Luo Jin did after he recovered was to find Luo Laro from the southern regions and ask him to kill the 4 sects. This was also the decision Luo Jin made in his heart during the war that day. Because of Xiao Yang, he must pay the price of the 4 main doors. Unfortunately, although Luo Jin did invite Luo Laro, the final result was not like what Luo Jin thought. Luo Laro did not kill the 4 cases, but scolded Luo Jin. In Luo Jin's slightly wronged eyes, Luo Ao looked at Xiao Yang with a dignified face all the way. The latter was deeply hurt. Even he couldn't help but pinch a cold sweat. But at the same time, Luo Ao is also glad for Xiao Yang. At this moment, it is not those imperial pills that can save Xiao Yang, but the different fire in Xiao Yang's body. After that, Luo Ao stayed in Lungsue city for 2 months, but Xiao Yang had no other changes except that his breath gradually recovered. 2 months later, Luo Ao, who had planned to wait patiently for Xiao Yang to wake up, was forced to return to the southern region immediately because of a sudden news. When he left Lungsue city, Luo Jin clearly saw the extremely dignified look on his old face. Luo's appearance made Luo Jin feel bad. He had never seen this look on Luo's face several times. The reason why Luo Ao will return to the southern region so dignified and quickly is precisely because something happened to the Shenling family. In the letter Luo Ao received from Aoki, Aoki once mentioned that when he entered the depths of the spirit space, he found something that shouldn't exist, and it was that kind of thing that made Aoki and Luo so nervous. It was a small piece of crystal block painted black like charcoal. Its shape was somewhat uneven, as if it had fallen from something. Under the exploration of Qingmu, he also found a very familiar smell. And this is the source of his color change. That breath comes from Haimu, who has been killed by Xiao Yang. This small piece of charcoal-like crystal block is just a small piece on the root of the Blackwood body Shenling. Western regions, Lungsue city. The clouds are hidden in the pavilion. 6 months have passed since the war. In these 6 months, Xiao Yang has been sleeping. Although his injury has recovered nearly 90%, Xiao Yang still shows no signs of awakening. In the cloud-hidden pavilion, Luo Jin and Zhongyi frowned and looked at Xiao Yang lying on a special stone bed in front of him. Their eyes showed a worried look. Unexpectedly, Xiao Yang was so badly hurt this time. Half a year has passed, he has no sign of awakening, and he doesn't know how long he will last in this state at the moment. In the past 6 months, Luo Laro also went back and forth many times. But every time he saw Xiao Yang, he just shook his head reluctantly. After observing for a few days, he returned to the southern region. With Xiao Yang's deep sleep, in the outside world, the things about Xiao Yang have gradually subsided. Even many people think that perhaps after the original war, Xiao Yang has died because of his severe injury in his body. As the new news came out, date and time once again caused a commotion in the western regions. Most people also agree with this answer. After all, Do Di is Do Di after all. How can it be easily countered by a small semi-emperor strong man? Not to mention that Xiao Yang is only a 5-star semi-emperor, which makes no sense. Of course, there are some people who still believe that Xiao Yang is still alive, but they are much fewer. After all, in theory, the above explanation is correct, but they still think that Xiao Yang is not dead, but has just left the western regions. Of course, these are not important. What is important is that all the news about Xiao Yang has gone with the wind in the vast western regions. However, the tree wants to be quiet but the wind doesn't stop. It seems that there are always some people who don't want Xiao Yang's name to decline. Of course, more importantly, they also have another intention. After Xiao Yang slept for half a year, the western regions, which had gradually subsided, suddenly came another amazing news. Once the news came out, the name of Xiao Yang resounded through the western regions again. If anyone sees Xiao Yang, reports the place where Xiao Yang appears, or catches him alive, as long as he can take a breath and take him to any of the 4 main doors, the 4 main doors will jointly give a reward. One of the contents included in the bounty is 12 imperial pills. As for the others, there is no shortage of martial arts and fighting skills, and they are all amazing treasures that will make people crazy. Although we didn't know whether the news was true or false, when the public saw that the 4 main doors didn't give a definite response, everyone immediately understood. Therefore, the western regions, which had just been quiet, surged up again. The name of Xiao Yang also spread again in every corner of the western regions. It seems to be to ensure that someone can find Xiao Yang. Soon after the news came out, there were another drawing paper with Xiao Yang's face, which quickly flew out of an unknown corner, which also made everyone have a clear understanding of Xiao Yang's face. Of course, having said that, this kind of drawing paper is only passed on to some large cities, and naturally no one cares about it in some small cities. As for Lungsue City, as the know of the southwest border, I think the reason for his trip should not be assigned by Yangxianzong, but for another purpose. Hearing the speech, Zhongyi frowned, rubbed his fingers and whispered, "What do you say?" Luo Jin glanced at Zhongyi and asked softly, "Young lord, do you remember that Xiao Yang has a skill that can summon an avatar with the same strength as the body? The skill was obtained from an elder of Yangxianzong." Hiss. "You mean the Yuanqing of Yangxianzong?" Luo Jin looked stunned and couldn't help but scream. In this way, the purpose of Yuanqing's trip probably meant Xiao Yang. It was precisely because he heard that Xiao Yang is now in the western regions that he took advantage of the opportunity to evacuate and went to the western regions alone to find Xiao Yang. Bang! However, at the moment when Luo Jin blurted out his startled voice, a violent explosion suddenly came from the attic upstairs. The next moment, Luo Jin, who was walking down, suddenly turned around. At the same time, Zhongyi behind him also turned around at the same time, looked up together and looked at the attic on the 6th floor. Their eyes were full of ecstatic excitement. At the same time, in the attic on the 6th floor, Xiao Yang, who had closed his eyes and was burning starfire all over, had already sat up and entered the body with different fire. His whole body was as thick as a dragon. Feeling the familiar smell coming from upstairs, Luo Jin and Zhongyi immediately couldn't help shouting, "Xiao Yang, wake up!" Cloud-hidden pavilion, on the 6th floor of the attic. At this moment, the 3 shadows are located in turn. Luo Jin and Zhongyi are impressively included. However, at the moment, they are looking at the young man in black in front of them with a happy face. This man is no one else. It is Xiao Yang, who has been in a coma for half a year until he finally woke up. "Haha, brother Xiao Yang, after half a year, you finally wake up." As soon as he sat down, Luo Jin couldn't help laughing at Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang woke up and seemed to sweep away all his unhappiness in the past 6 months. The deep killing intention he had for the 4 major students in his heart a moment ago was also pressed at the bottom of his heart with Xiao Yang's awakening. Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang nodded with a sigh on his face and took a deep breath. He was also a little relieved in his heart. In this half-year's deep sleep, Xiao Yang seems to have dreamed a lot of things. He dreamed of fighting the mainland and his family and friends. He seemed to have returned there and lived happily with Zuna and Kaylin. His father and teacher were always with him. There were groups of children and the family prospered. Everyone saw him with awe. Xiao Yang was like a god, so unattainable. But every time I see this, Xiao Yang always frowns. Xiao Yang guarded the family with his powerful strength. It seemed that everything seemed so beautiful. However, it seemed that it was a sweet life like saccharine, but Xiao Yang felt extremely uncomfortable. There seems to be something missing here. Finally, until one day, when Xiao Yang was impatient with all this, a group of mysterious people in black robes broke through the void and came to the fighting continent. After an earth-shaking war, Xiao Yang was defeated in the end. At the moment when he was defeated by the man in black robe, Xiao Yang's face was full of surprise. He couldn't believe that he would lose so thoroughly. He was the strong man of fighting the emperor and the strongest man in the mainland. How could he lose? Fighting emperor. Half emperor. However, at the moment when he thought of this, the thoughts suddenly gushing from the depths of his heart made him instantly recall, but even so, for a moment and a half, Xiao Yang couldn't sort out the chaotic thoughts in his mind. On the contrary, Xiao Yang Yu was more anxious, and the thoughts in his mind were more chaotic. As the saying goes, the winner is the king and the loser is the coup. When Xiao Yang is anxious to have a headache because of his thoughts, the whole continent is gradually going to perish because of Xiao Yang's defeat. Under the claws of those black-robed people, the originally peaceful continent began to be on the verge of breaking. Even if it is better than fighting the saint, there is only the share of ashes. Seeing his loved ones die one by one with his own eyes, Xiao Yang felt more and more heavy in his heart. His thin body swayed in the strong wind, and his blood and tears kept turning in his eyes. The palms stained with his own blood were extremely unwilling to hold together, and his slender fingertips were almost inserted into his palm, but Xiao Yang didn't feel any pain, just stubbornly opened his scarlet eyes and stared at those people in black. Whenever he made an action, he would be devastated by ruthless power. When Xiao Yang finally saw his father and teacher fall under the black-robed man's claws, Xiao Yang was almost devastated. He struggled desperately. He wanted to save his father and teacher, but the final result was more cold-blooded destruction, and his father and teacher could not escape the tragic fate of falling. Finally, Xiao Yang watched Zuna and Kaylin cut into nothingness by the man in black robe. The death of Zuna and Kaylin seemed to be a key to unlock the chaotic thoughts in Xiao Yang's mind. All the doubts in Xiao Yang's heart were solved at this moment. What is missing here is the blood in the hearts of everyone on the mainland and the fanatical pursuit of strength. They don't have any of these things. When they look at themselves, they are not in awe, but fear, a fearless fear. Until this time, Xiao Yang woke up. All this was just a dream, but it also made Xiao Yang cold. At the same time, Xiao Yang also woke up from a long sleep. Brother Xiao Yang? Brother Xiao Yang? Huh! Suddenly, Xiao Yang clearly felt that someone was patting him on the shoulder. Due to the stimulation Xiao Yang had received in his dream, Xiao Yang's first action to regain consciousness was to blow out his backhand. However, fortunately, at the moment when Xiao Yang's palm was about to be printed on Luo Jin's face door, Xiao Yang responded in time, which suddenly stopped his palm. Who? When the strong wind hit Luo Jin's face, the latter's face suddenly changed. His body stumbled and couldn't help falling back. Finally, he was supported by Zhongyi, who also had an unbelievable face, so he didn't sit down. Xiao Yang, you. Cough, I'm sorry. I was a little excited just now. Just when Zhong Yigang couldn't help asking questions, Xiao Yang quickly apologized. Seeing Xiao Yang's expression, Zhong Yi and Luo Jin looked at each other. Then they all sighed for unknown reasons, and then they returned to their seats. Hehe, brother Xiao Yang, you have kept us waiting for half a year. Knowing that Xiao Yang didn't want to talk more about this topic, Luo Jin didn't mention it anymore, but his voice turned and talked about Xiao Yang. Hearing Luo Jin's words, Xiao Yang also had no choice but to smile. He didn't expect that he would be unconscious for so long after he was injured this time. Oh, by the way, has brother Xiao Yang ever seen that elder? It seems that he remembered something. Luo Jin asked Xiao Yang with a smile. Elder? What elder? Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang was stunned and confused. In this regard, Luo Jin and Zhongyi looked at each other and immediately lost their smile. Hihi, it seems that you don't know the outcome of the war 6 months ago. So it seems that you really can't find the mysterious elder. Luo Jin shook his head and sighed. He was also full of curiosity about the elder, Zhongyi said. No matter how strong the other party was, at least he saved his 3 people. This place alone was enough for Luo Jin to respect him. Seeing this, Xiao Yang could not help frowning slightly and thinking about it in his heart. Only then did he recall the war 6 months ago. He remembered that at the end of the war, he seemed to have lost consciousness. He only vaguely remembered that he seemed to break the sword seal of Jianming. As for the later things, he didn't know anything. After Luo Jin's general explanation, Xiao Yang suddenly had a little insight into the mysterious elder, but Xiao Yang didn't say it clearly. Hey, hey! At this time, a joking laughter came from the depths of Xiao Yang's body. It was Ji Yu. Xiao Yang wakes up, which makes Luo Jin excited and happy. At the same time, the whole person's spirit becomes lively. Xiao Yang's face is also with the joy of the rest of his life. Being able to escape such a dream really made Xiao Yang feel like escaping from life. Under the common rendering of different moods, the 2 people seemed to be old friends who had not seen each other for many years and now suddenly met again for a long time. They talked all day, laughing and laughing. After dark, they didn't forget to drink with pride until dawn the next day. Although Xiao Yang and Luo Jin were both semi-imperialist strongmen, they had a strong friendship and did not deliberately remove the alcohol in the wine, but allowed the alcohol in the wine to stir up clouds and rain in their bodies. Therefore, after drinking the wine all night, the 2 people were already red all over and lying on the ground disorderly. With their breathing, the whole attic was filled with a strong smell of wine, which had even turned into a light cyan fog, which was unbearable. However, the 2 people at the moment had already been unaware of this. As they gradually became stable and orderly, the sound of breathing came out. However, for a moment, the 2 semi-imperialist strong men who were famous in the outside world fell asleep. Zhongyi was also quite helpless. He had to shake his head and quit the 6th floor, which was almost a mess. A few days later, in Lungsue City, an old man with a plain breath and an old face stood in front of the door of Union Pavilion. When the pedestrians on the street saw the old man, they could not help but frown slightly. The Union Pavilion has been closed for half a year, and the words of suspension of business are clearly marked on the door. Why is this strange old man standing here? But when these pedestrians saw Zhongyi coming out of the Union Pavilion and respectfully welcomed the old man into the Union Pavilion, the faces of the pedestrians on the street were frozen for a moment, their mouths were wide open, standing in place like a sculpture for a long time. At the same time, Luo Ao finally saw Xiao Yang again in the cloud-hidden pavilion. Yes, this seemingly powerless old man is Luo. When Luo Ao first saw Xiao Yang, his worries about Xiao Yang finally dissipated. Before that, even he couldn't guarantee whether Xiao Yang could wake up. After all, Xiao Yang's injury this time was too serious. However, fortunately, heaven favored. Fortunately, although Xiao Yang was seriously injured, he finally escaped a disaster and successfully woke up. While Luo Ao met Xiao Yang, the latter's heart was also excited. Xiao Yang respects Luo Ao from his heart, not only because Luo Ao is his elder, but also because Luo Ao has taken care of him for 2 years. Haha, boy, I believe you won't hang up so easily. It seems that my hunch is not wrong. When he got close, Luo Aotan laughed and said when he saw Xiao Yang bowing to himself. Hihi, I've learned some things from brother Luo Jin in the past 6 months. I'm here. Thank you for your concern in the past 6 months. Xiao Yang arched his hand at Luo Ao and said with a respectful smile. Oh, well, everyone is not an outsider. Why are you so polite? You'd better sit down first. How many words you have to wait until you sit down first? Seeing that Luo Ao and Xiao Yang were so polite to each other, Luo Jin was not used to it, so he had to smile helplessly and say to them together. When they heard the speech, they all looked at each other. Then they looked at each other and smiled. They were no longer polite. They each found a place to sit down. Although the attic space on the 6th floor is relatively smaller than that on the other floors, it is much more empty for 4 people. Therefore, the indoor atmosphere has not become depressed due to the short silence. Each took his seat. Xiao Yang raised his head and looked at the others with a smile. Ha, boy, you've been sleeping for half a year, but we're worried about it. As soon as he took his seat, Luo immediately said with a joke. Xiao Yang also nodded when he heard the speech. Naturally, he was very clear about this. He immediately stood up again and hugged the people in front of him and said, Xiao Yang is here. Thank you. Haha, come on, why are you so polite? Do you think we treat you as an outsider? I won't say anything else first. Let's talk about the most important things at present. Seeing Xiao Yang get up, Luo Ayrton frowned and said in a deep voice with some reluctance. Then the tone changed and the topic fell on Xiao Yang again. Seeing this, Xiao Yang nodded slightly embarrassed, smiled, and then did it again. When Xiao Yang sat down, Luo Ao glanced at several people present and finally fell on Xiao Yang. His face gradually returned to normal and said, Xiao Yang, what is your attitude towards the 4 major doors? If you can kill him, you will never be merciful. Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang was stunned at first, then his eyes gradually became sharp, the strange fire in the depths of his pupils surged, and said in a low tone. Seeing this, Luo couldn't help frowning slightly and complaining too deeply. This is not a good thing. If Xiao Yang loses his reason, I'm afraid he will hurt himself. Frowning, Luo Ao's mind turned sharply. After a long time, he said again. Well, in that case, please answer my questions first. Go ahead, sir. Xiao Yang slowly recovered his calm and said respectfully. Seeing this scene, Luo was slightly surprised, then quickly obeyed the rules, hesitated, and then said. Xiao Yang, what do you think of the war 6 months ago? Xiao Yang raised his eyebrows and thought a little, then frowned and said in a voice. The 4 patriarchs are really strong. Now I can't be their opponent. Although the words are concise and clear, and also have some meaning of increasing others' ambition, Luo Ao nodded slightly after hearing it. In fact, Xiao Yang is indeed not their opponent. Even, it is not too much to use this sentence. After all, even in the war 6 months ago, in the final analysis, none of the 4 of them had ever used their real strength. That kind of practice was humiliating enough for them to fight the emperor. However, let Luo Ao nod for it, but it is Xiao Yang's now. Xiao Yang is right. Now he is really not the opponent of any of the 4 patriarchs, but this does not include the future. With Xiao Yang's cultivation speed today, as long as there is no accident, his future achievements will only be higher than the 4 of them. This is Luo Ao's inference from his heart and his confidence in Xiao Yang. Yes, although the words are a little short, they are concise and comprehensive, which is enough. Luo Ao nodded, said a sentence in a flat tone, then turned his voice and continued to ask. How strong do you think the 4 of them are? Well. This time, Xiao Yang hesitated for a moment. After a long time, he spoke again and said. The 4 of them are the best in the level of fighting emperor. They have been promoted to fighting emperor for many years. There are few enemies in the level of fighting emperor. However, just because they have stopped at the level of cultivation for too long, it will be difficult to make progress in the future. I'm afraid they can only stay at this level in this life. Therefore, although they are strong, some people are stronger than them. As long as they surpass fighting emperor, anyone can easily kill them. Luo Ao smiled and nodded again. What he wanted was this result. Let Xiao Yang tell himself that if he wants to kill the patriarch of the 4 major sects, he must surpass the emperor and take this as a warning, so as to avoid Xiao Yang's impulsive and crazy things. Hehe, thank you for your advice. Please rest assured. I will never do anything crazy. At least, I won't conflict with them until I have the strength to compete with them. Suddenly, Xiao Yang's respectful voice came again. Luo Ao immediately smiled, stroked his beard with one hand, nodded and said with a smile. Well, boy, you can have this awareness. I'm worried too much. In contrast, hey, our little ancestor who always wants to rely on our elders is really a little child who will never grow up. At the end of the voice, Luo Ao also grinned at Luo Jin. The words in his mouth made the latter keep turning away, but he couldn't help muttering in his heart, which also attracted a burst of laughter from Luo Ao's mouth. This video will end here.